extremely happy to now welcome here in our improvised studio in the gallery of the Postimees headquarters, the Minister of Entrepreneurship and Information Technology, Mr. Kristjan Järvan. You too have been an entrepreneur, but in tandem, or was it a solo? I have been an entrepreneur alone and also in a team, but I do recommend going in business with a team. And I think the magical number is 3. Oh, that's very interesting. So somebody who is responsible for business, somebody who is responsible for technology, and someone who is responsible for design. That's the best division of the areas of responsibility. And whatever you do, all 3 are required. So that makes a nice trio. So this is startup thinking, right? Yes, it is. And that's my background. It has left its mark. So a struggle you are fighting with your colleagues is energy prices. And, well, it's getting darker and darker. And when you walk around the city, then you also see lots of unlit windows. What will happen to small entrepreneurs? Because they're all people and working from home. So what are the levers here so that we don't have to close shop? When we had the first reading of the universal service on the 31st of August, then Pro Patria party wanted an approach that is the same for all companies. And in coalition agreement, it is stated that it is extended to all companies, universal service. So right now it's being processed in the Parliament, Riigikogu, and the optimistic deadline we have set is November. But there are many components, and the household consumer universal service went so smoothly at record speed. But there's an additional component of state aid. We need to communicate with Europe on this topic when it comes to companies. So I dare not state that it will come in November, but we are working to make it happen. By Christmas, yes, let's hope. A little gift. So now that you work as a politician, and you are looking down on the country from the hilltop. Well, no, I'm looking around myself, not from the top down. Are Estonian people entrepreneurial, and does the state feel that our own entrepreneurs need to be supported to make sure that small entrepreneurs also survive? Yes, of course, but I think that the support is not paying companies lots of support. Then we are ruining what makes companies excellent. The companies are beneficial to the state because they resolve problems. But when we create this grant system, fill in this application and we'll give you money, that poisons business to a certain degree. How we can support is societal support, which I think is very strong in Estonia for business. And second, all the red tape barriers, that we remove them. Do we still have these obstacles? Yes. So when I was an entrepreneur, you know that ministers cannot be on boards of companies. And it took me 2 months to get out of the member of the board status, and I had to turn to attorneys for their help. We submitted 4 or 5 applications to the commercial register. We couldn't really tell what the problem was. So situations like this, we are proud that it takes 15 minutes to establish a company, but you can't leave business. So there are still things to and issues to resolve. If somebody in the midst of the crisis thinks that I do want to get into business and become an entrepreneur, then what is the best way and what to keep in mind? The most important thing to make sure that their sustainability is to find your first customer. This validates whether you are solving some kind of a problem or you are not. It's the same with the cake, right? You make a cake. Is it tasty? Are people willing to pay money for it? And if nobody likes it, then don't go asking for support from Enterprise Estonia. So resolving the problem of a customer is central in business. And the support schemes that we also applied for with our startups is the greatest value when we can bring together the potential customer and the support scheme, which is reliable, so that the large-scale customers dare to test out your solution. The current situation is quite unstable globally. In Estonia, it's quite stable, but still, war, energy prices. Is it even worth starting with your own company right now? Right now, especially, an unstable environment is the best for startups. We see Uber, Airbnb. They came before the last downturn. They started at the bottom. They saw that people needed higher incomes, less costs, and they validated their model in that stage. And after that, they just kept growing. I would say that one of my priorities in the business environment, the strategic priority for the state, is military companies. Because, like you stated, there's war, there's instability in the world, but defense budgets have grown, there's more demand, innovative solutions are being sought out, not only drones. Drones is a nice keyword regarding future warfare. And this is a great environment to create new things, and Estonia is in a prime position. Because due to the consistency of the defense forces and the fact that we have very competent people there, they see what is tactically needed and they understand the essence of the problem and the resolution. And I believe that Estonian companies can grow hugely in this area. It seems like a sector that has quite a high entry level. You need to know about IT, understand warfare, technically complicated. So those who already have done something and are looking for a new direction can enter it. According to your approach. No, not only. They don't all have to be smart solutions, all of them, though it's, of course, a good direction to head in. When you create value, you have an opportunity. If you know what the problem is, then it's not only you who creates value, but other people who want to make the world a better place will come along with you. So we don't really need more entrepreneurs and employees. We need people who resolve problems. Whether you do it as an entrepreneur or as a salaried employee, both are great for the state. It seems we have a very good minister who understands the difficulties of an entrepreneur and the process. It's a great advantage, and I believe you can guide others in the right, other ministers in the right direction. That you have experience, you have a clear vision, clear outlook. Is there hope that the state has measures to keep the energy crisis under control, or is the future very uncertain? In the big picture, in the grand scheme of things, there are two important topics. We have our own means for energy generation. Green energy will come, but unfortunately the reality is that we have more green energy in the summer and we have more consumption in winter. So we're speaking about oil shale, yes. We have our own oil shale. Latvia has a difficult time generating electricity, but we don't have gas production. Some company in the food industry, for example, they require gas for their processes. There the situation is more complicated. If we don't have the generation capacity, we have something for biomethane, but the volumes are insufficient. Then it's more difficult to have an impact. But when it comes to electricity, I believe that we can provide a stable environment. It's true that it's not as affordable as it used to be, because inevitably Russia sent Europe affordable gas, and electricity generation was cheaper everywhere, and the alternatives are more expensive now. The only consolation is that at least we have electricity, but providing it at the same cost as years before, I'm afraid that currently this is unrealistic. So these prices are, the past prices, are they historical? Well, it's the same kind of question as when will the war in Ukraine end and when will Russia become a normal country to trade with? It depends only on Russia. Well, the gas supplies, yes, but Estonian price of electricity, it depends a lot on the fact that we trade on the exchange. So in some sense, Germany's decision to shut down nuclear power stations means that they are buying up electricity from all over Europe and are hiking up the price for everyone. But these are the pains and gains of common market. If we were alone in our power network, we wouldn't be able to synchronize, and that would come with the risk of not having enough power. But I think the situation will stabilize. For the entrepreneurs, what's important is what is their competitiveness like compared to other companies. And it doesn't console us too much, but at least the energy prices in other EU member states are also very high. And I think that our companies are not any worse off compared to them when it comes to electricity prices, and we're stable. So maybe we're a bit late with our wind farms and other energy farms, because old Estonians also used to say that make your preparations in the summer. Now winter is here and we are struggling and doing what we can to catch up. So maybe the state will learn for the future. That's optimistic. Well, the ancient Estonians also used to say, don't spit into an old well before you build a new one. So maybe when it comes to our oil shale run plants, then that's also worthwhile taking into consideration. Well, when it comes to the future, then maybe we should also be considering a nuclear power station in Estonia. What is your personal point of view on this? I think that when it comes to Europe, then nuclear power makes sense. It's regrettable that these were shut down in Germany. And we can see it in the graphs. The more affordable the power, the more need for electrification, the higher the GDP. And the US has a lot of power, and they are at the forefront. And that's where the economic growth comes from. In the future, well, the question for companies is not just how do we maintain energy consumption right now and how to make it greener. The question is how do we reasonably increase our electricity generation and how to bring bigger plants here, which don't have a huge number of employees but have great added value. They're very interesting projects. Permanent magnets for electricity turbine production, how the ash hills can be recycled and how to take out elements from the ash, the stored ash. So the large-scale projects in Estonia are very interesting, and they correspond to the principles of recycling waste and materials. There's a lot of value in the waste. In the movie Back to the Future, the car, it flew on waste, on biological waste, on banana peels. A great metaphor. Yes, a great metaphor, but we see it more and more. Technologies are developing, so what didn't make sense to recycle before now has become reasonable. So we're in the midst of the Entrepreneurship Week, and you are an entrepreneurial person. So I have a final question to you. What has been the greatest lesson as an entrepreneur that you've learned? The most painful, but the greatest lesson goes back to defining the problem. How do you define the problem that you will resolve with your business? Usually the problem you want to resolve and everybody else thinks it's a problem too, then that's a warning, a risk. All the green issues, recycling has always been an issue, education always an issue, we should have more education. All the things that make you feel that this is where you need to make the world a better place and there's consensus on it, then as a business model, it's very difficult to cope. So you're asking money for it? You should be happy that you can make the world a better place. That's what the client asks in this situation. And companies cannot work on zero margin. And that's one of the most painful lessons. It all starts with defining the problem that you want to resolve and whether the customer will buy the solution to the problem. Is it a real problem? Is the solution real? And everything else is trimmings. Thank you to Kristjan Järvan, the Minister of Entrepreneurship and IT, and I wish you a successful, what should I say? And I'm happy that we have an entrepreneur in the government, so lots of successful start-upping in the government and in politics. Thank you very much. And now we will welcome completely new people on the sofa opposite us.